G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 133, and we have a lot to talk about today because the AFL just dropped that we have 7 new rule changes coming throughout the 2026 season, and of course we have a bunch more to talk about in the AFL space, and the World Sports segment is back for the first time in probably a few months. So let's roll the intro and get straight into the new episode. Welcome to the Boundary Riders podcast, your one-stop shop for all your AFL content needs. He looks at his options and Jack Ginnivan says, boys, you brought me to the club to do just this! But this guy has flog written all over him.
From a tap down, Reed sprints away from Petrarca, leaves him in his wake, takes a second bounce, takes a third. The sheer arrogance of Harley Reid. Finish the job, young man!
So let's get into the footy news from the week that was. So of course my brother is here with us this week and hopefully he continues to be throughout, I don't know, do we want to call it the summer series? I don't know, that sounds a bit cringe, but the summer series of the podcast, we're going to make it as cringe as fuck. What? So, I mean, we've got the footy, we've still got footy news to talk about.
Yeah, well, that's just interesting changes, which Greg Swan was always going to bring in. So it's nice to see he's put his front foot. Been on the front foot about it and decided to put in some rule changes, which we'll get into a bit later.
Well, look, let's get into it now. So the AFL have announced that they have made 7 new changes going into next year. So first of all, number 1 is no goal square start. Second is last disposal free kick, which is probably the big one we'll get to a little bit later. The centre bounce ball up, or centre ball ups now. There's no more centre bounce, of course. The align kick in time, ruck nomination, shrug in the tackle, and the stand rule has been changed a little bit. So first of all, we'll start with the goal square, and this isn't exactly a massive change. So while the 666 rule will remain from the centre ball ups, there will no longer be a requirement for at least 1 player per team to start in the goal square. This will be measured to help reducing dead time after goal. So the main thing that they're trying to get across here, the AFL, with these 7 new rule changes is the dead time. That's obviously like we see them making decisions of players not following the rules, maybe the ruck rules you'll get to in a moment, but basically time that is just spent doing nothing. So that's kind of the first one, and I think this rule shouldn't have ever been a thing. I don't know why we have to have a player required to stand in the goal square.
Yeah, it's like, well, if you got the 666 rule, does it really matter where they stand inside the 50?
Yeah.
Does it really matter?
Yeah, I don't think it makes a difference.
To be honest, it will be interesting because you can, like, I know it might seem really stupid, but technically you can use that to your advantage in a way. Like,
yeah, I think
you can set players, as we've seen sometimes, set players can work in a way. So it might not be the worst thing in the world. It could be a good tactical thing from coaches.
I'm sure teams will start to use these sort of rules with different tactics in mind, rather than just having to like have. Usually, it's like have three of your team stand at the arc, and then 2 stand somewhere else, and then someone has to be required to stand in the goal square.
Yeah.
So now teams could use it a little bit more tactically, but I think sometimes teams, some of the like better teams and interesting like tactics that we've seen in previous years, like I don't know what they called it, but when Collingwood were in stoppage, like late in games, they wouldn't jump on the ball. They'd try to get it out out in the area. I think it was against Geelong we first saw it earlier in the year.
Yeah.
When they wouldn't jump on the ball because they had to win the game, so they'd try and I don't know if they were calling it jockeying or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously teams are starting to use different tactics, and the centre bounces as well. Like players are moving out from the centre circle and moving more to the edge of the centre square. So that's other sort of tactics that I actually like to see. And we even saw with Nasiah with his goal against Melbourne when he got robbed of a 3-vote game. Fucking hell. Anyway, there was different tactics they were putting out there. Like you go immediately run straight from the wing to the goals to the 50, and you know it was like very interesting way of like how things are going to be adjudicated. But that one, I think, I think that was an obvious one. I mean, I know they are saying like 7 rule changes, but that one's, I mean, a rule change is not really going to mean much.
It's just an adjustment of the role, really.
Yeah, something that needed to probably be changed. Now, a line kick in time. This basically means that when a player is coming to kick in, they have 12 seconds. The umpire gives them to move on and play on. This has been brought back to 8 seconds, which is more in line with other rules around the ground. So
it's a line with when a player marks the ball to play on.
8 seconds to play on. So again, a rule that's like should have already been a thing. Like how many times do we see a player kick in? And by the way, they take a lot more than 12 seconds. Let's be fucking real.
I think the statistic on the AFL website was like 13% take up to 13 seconds. I think there'd be about 7 or 8% of it will be over that line time.
Yeah, it says here the AFL sampled more than 1,200 kick-ins across the 2025 season, with a quarter of those lasting over 10 seconds and 13% lasting over 12 seconds. I feel like it's a lot more than that.
I think it is.
But anyway,
but they don't want to admit that. But yeah, I think that's so like. I know that a crowd get a bit reckless when restless. When it gets to that point. It's like get the guy going, but
yeah, it's like move on, bro.
Yeah,
fucking get on.
It's like So.
It's weird that that's always been like that's 12 seconds, but around the ground with like marking and stuff like that, it's only 8.
I think it's another rule that should have been changed a long time ago. I don't think it needed to be Greg Swan coming in to change that.
Yeah. I mean, when you do hear like 7 rule changes, you probably go, oh my God, that's fucking way too many. And I do as well. I think it is a lot, but a lot of these ones are like fine tuning something that should have been changed years ago. So I do think that's a good change from like Greg Swan immediately putting a stamp on, his now new role at the AFL, and he's trying to make some changes. So look, we'll get into a couple of the ones a little bit later that like I don't know about, but overall the first couple I think are okay. Centre bounce cleaner, centre ball up contest. I'm never going to be able to call it a centre ball up. It's just going to continue.
Just say the ball up.
Yeah, they're calling it centre ball up. So, centre ball up contest. So, at all centre ball ups, fuck, I hate that. Competing rucks will now be unable to cross the centre line before engaging with their opposition ruck. This is born from the desire of seeing jumping rucks return to the game. Now, to be honest, I didn't actually think... I thought that they weren't allowed to cross the line anyway, like before the ball up actually came. So I was a little bit surprised by that. But I mean, obviously something in the game that everyone loves to see is in the ruck contest, because it is quite unique to our sport that players, like the ruckman is jumping up and fisting it. And that has kind of gone from the game in recent times. So they did say that with the new ball up rather than the bounce down, there's going to be, this opens up that sort of stuff. I'm a bit surprised they just didn't say that like a ruckman has to have their back foot on the, the outer circle. I mean, that would make more sense to me. Yeah,
I think it depends on where they're jumping from in the centre.
Yeah, but I think if both ruckmen at least, because I mean, it doesn't say that like they can't stand close to the line, but they just can't cross it. So I mean, I think that if it was more like, it would be more better to see the jump is if they have their foot on the back of the like sort of like when a player in netball, for example, can't put their toe across the line when they go to throw the ball in, or in basketball, whereas it's a foot foul, whatever they call it. I can't remember what they call it. I haven't played basketball in years. Sorry, 5'4". Sorry that I don't know a lot about basketball. But anyway, and I'm hugely white. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you'd think that would be a way to implement it, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we want to see. We want to see ruckman jump up, and I would like to see a lot more ruckman fist the ball forward.
Which it might. It'll be interesting how that is adjudicated though, because you can just see that there's going to be a player that accidentally does something and goes across the line, and it's paid as a free kick or something. I think that's a rule that. It's going to be very interesting how that one goes, to be honest. But I think...
It definitely helps out the more athletic ruckman.
That's what... Yeah, I think the young, agile ruckman that are coming through, Jackson at TDK, and some other ones, it might be interesting to see how the athletic ones go, because they'll get the height of...
Yeah, they'll be able to use those rules to their advantage. Less likely I mean, Max Scorn obviously is a very good ruckman, but he's...
I think it's more like the Tobin and Curves, the
Kieran Briggs.
Yeah,
they're probably not the ones that are going to be able to use those to their advantage as much as like a TDK or Jackson. It's like So that'll be interesting how that one's implemented. But again, another good change. The ruck nomination. So ruck nomination's obviously been a bit of an issue. BT brings it up nearly every single game, it seems, when he's commentating regarding like players having to nominate for the ruck and then umpires waiting like 20 seconds for them to come through. So umpires can now restart play without nominating a ruckman being present, bringing the men's game in line with AFLW rules. If there is no nomination or nominated ruck is too far away, the play will be restarted immediately. The third man up rule is still outlawed, so if there is no ruckman nominated or the 2 nominated rucks are too far away for play to restart, the ball will be thrown up and will have to hit the ground before play on is called. Now, I like the idea that they're going to get the game going. I don't like the idea of them throwing the ball up and everyone just standing there waiting for it to hit the ground.
Yeah,
that sounds so I don't know, juvenile. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it seems like you're like kids. Wait. Alright, here's full. Everyone jumps on it. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's just gonna be everyone just jumping on it. It's gonna be. I don't know how that's gonna look at all.
I think that just it's not. I don't know if
I would rather the umpire go, you jump.
Yeah, like how you do an Oz kick. It's like, all right, you two kids, you're in the ruck.
Yeah.
Like, just do that. I think that's.
I would rather them go, 2 people nominate now, ruckman are out of it, or just something like quickly, or just the umpire just go. If the 2 are ruckman are there, the umpire knows the ruckman in the AFL.
Yeah.
Let's be real. He can see if Rowan Marshall and Tristan Cherry are standing there, them 2 can go. But if they're not around, or the secondary ruckman aren't around, if anything, just make the ruckman the umpire go. The 2 tallest people just go. But
Yeah.
I get maybe the reason why they're not doing that is because if it was a big game situation and the umpire picked 2 people, if the umpire picked someone that's, I don't know, maybe if he went, let's say, for example, I don't know, Geelong and Brisbane. If he went that he picked Darcy Wilmot up against Patrick Dangerfield at the stoppage, he just picked them 2. One of them may have an extra advantage. So maybe that's why they're trying to get that out.
Yeah.
But I personally don't want to see the umpire ball up the footy, throw it up, and then it just hit the ground, everyone just converge on top of it. Because, that's just going to cause... I guess maybe that will bring a repeat stoppage so then the ruckman can get there. But also it could bring the idea, though, of someone just throwing their boot at it off the ground. So, I don't know. It would bring an interesting dynamic to the game. But I personally don't want to see the umpire throw the ball up and everyone just waiting for it to hit the ground. I think that's stupid.
I think the pre-season games are going to be interesting when we see that. It's like, they just all converge on one once it hits the floor.
Yeah, I don't know if we really want to see that. But anyway. Next rule is shrugging in a tackle. So now it is deemed prior opportunity if you do shrug to... So that's your prior. If you shrug a tackle, so, obviously people are thinking of the high shrug when they try to shrug it over, but obviously that's other stuff as well. But now that will be pinged holding the ball. That's a great change if it's implemented properly and it's consistent. I don't know why they had to finally announce that. Like, it's been so many years we've seen players like shrugging high and all that sort of stuff, and now they implement it in 2026 season. It shouldn't have taken this long.
No, it shouldn't have. And I think that, like I've said so many times so far in this little segment, like Greg Swan is just doing things that it should have been done 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like, why does it need one bloke to come in and be like, that needs to change? Obviously, that should have been done. That should have been done. That should have been done. Okay, well, there's 7 rule changes. 10. Yeah.
For what we've gone through, I think 3, 4 so far. The goal square was an obvious one. The aligned kick-in time, again, an obvious one. Centre ball up contest, I thought that was already a rule. So, not crossing the line. So that's, more than fair. The ruck nomination, again, that's just an easy one. And then shrugging at the tackle. So we've gone through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all of them are pretty well, like, this should have happened years ago. 7 does sound like a lot. And we're going to get to the last 2, which is probably where we're going to get a bit I'm more a bit concerned. But... overall, the first 5 are great, and it's a thing that needs to come to the game. Like, shrugging high, it shouldn't be a thing. Like, we talk so much about, like, head-high contact and players getting hit in the head, and we have to get it out of the game. We're probably very lucky that no one has shrugged high and has, like, been seriously injured.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we've needed, but finally someone's just stepped in and said, hey, if you're going to start shrugging high and stuff, it needs to be outlawed. So, well, not outlawed, but, like... it needs to be, a penalty needs to be implemented to a player who's going to shrug high and going to risk themselves hurting themselves. They deserve a penalty if they're going to get pinged for it.
I think that this rule, though, is going to be the one that a lot of players are going to be able to find a loophole in. I think it's the big one that they're going to be like, there's a big loophole in this one. We're going to find that, and they'll find it within the first 3 weeks of the season. And that's going to be but that's going to be an interesting one because there's always one player that finds it. And normally, which I've seen in the past, it's been Hawthorn. It's been Hawthorn or Geelong that's been finding it.
Yeah, so we've always got a couple of Hawthorn, players who do it. Ginnivan and Nick Watson be the first couple more. Yeah, well, Dylan Moore as well. I think that they're probably the more famous ones. But yeah, there are a couple of Hawthorn players that do it. Obviously, Joel Selwood made it famous for when he did it. So they obviously waited until he retired. And they're like, all right, fine, we'll bring it in. No, I'm just... Well, we'll talk. They did bring in a new CEO or whatever, and he's been a full Geelong guy. So the allegations of the AFL being run by Geelong just aren't going away. Let's be real. But anyway, back to the story at hand. This is a good rule to bring in, but it's a rule that it's going to be tough for the umpires to adjudicate because sometimes, especially with the players like the Ginevans, the ones who do shrug high, they won't. If they actually do get taken high, they need to be called for a free kick. But it's hard to adjudicate because you just don't know. Like, well, he went up for the high, but a player got him there. But he's the player who does it all the time, so the umpire won't be free to doesn't want to pay it because they don't want to be the one who gets called out for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like you said, I think a lot of players are going to try and find a loophole through this, or they're going to try and bend the rule to try and get the high. Or another player, Errol Gordon, does it quite frequently as well for Sydney. And there's many players in the league. You can probably spend half the day listing all the players that try to do it nowadays. But yeah, that's another one. But it is a good rule in theory, just hopefully it's implemented well. Now we get to ones that I'm a little bit more concerned about. So there's only two more. First of all is the stand rule. So, of course, the stand rule with the protected area, we've got to be careful of the protected area. It's a rule that the AFL, they like it, but they don't really pay it for, they'll pay it for the first couple of weeks of the season. They'll think about it, then it kind of comes off the radar, comes out of, focus. It's out of vogue. And then around 18 or 19 in the season, they're like, oh, fuck, we have that stand rule. Hey, maybe we should play it. And then every single person watching and every player's like, oh, is that a rule that you're going to pay now? So this rule, at this moment in time, there will be a stronger enforcement of players being told to stand if they are inside the protected area. Now, if you are within 5 metres of the mark or a free kick when it is paid, it is deemed the protected area. You will be required to stand and can no longer reverse into being outside 5. So many players we've seen that when they get told to stand, they just creep back 5 metres and the umpire says stay out. Outside your 5. And I hate that because it's like, bro, if you're told to stand, that's the whole rule. So you have to stand. Stop bloody just creeping back. And so many teams do it. And the stand rule wasn't really a stand rule for so long because teams would just walk back. And then what would make it more confusing is sometimes umpires would be like, oh, no, I told you to stand. We're going to pay 50 metres.
Exactly.
And then other times they're like, oh, no, I told him he can walk back. He can go back 5 because it was too quick. So if they're going to be more stronger on this, great. But, I mean, when we first saw this, you messaged me and was like, this is going to be a rule where we're going to see so many 50-metre penalties paid that are just not going to be there. So,
exactly, yeah. Well, there'll be, it's going to be, as I said to you before, the descent rule 2.0. I think this one's going to be over-adjudicated so many times in the first three or 4 weeks of the season that it'll be ridiculous how many 50s are paid.
Yeah, and then we're going to be sitting here in like round 5 or 6. Everyone's like got on the outrage, which is, maybe fair, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. And then they'll come out of vogue. They'll kind of lean back on it. They'll ease off the rule. And then when someone brings it up again, something will happen in a game, and like late in the game, probably a Collingwood game, when Collingwood supporters are like, "Oh, there was a rule. We should have got that free kick," or someone like that. I don't know. I like to just blame Collingwood because that gets a couple of rage comments. But anyway, there'll be someone who does it, like, "Oh, he was within 5 metres." Like, who gives a fuck, dude? But then that will be brought back into vogue for around 18 or 19, and then we're like, "Oh, fuck, they're going to pay that rule now," and then everyone just gets frustrated.
Yeah.
So if they are going to be more strict on it, great. But they have to be consistent on it.
Yeah.
If they're going to do that, be consistent. If you're going to say if you're going to say stand and they don't stand, you pay 50.
Yeah.
If you say outside 5, fine. But you don't go stand and then they just walk away and then you're like, oh, okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
You have to be strong on it.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent on it too, because that's something I think a lot of supporters just hate nowadays. When they're not consistent on these sort of rulings, and we're sitting here fucking with our fingers in our heads in our hand, and we're like, what the fuck was that? You've been so inconsistent on this. Don't bring up these rules just when you feel like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I'm pretty concerned about. And I think, like you said, it's something that, do we really want to see a 50-minute penalty paid for something like that? I'm okay with it, but you got to be consistent on it. We do not want to see a grand final or a final or a big game late in the season decided by that, especially if you're not going to be consistent on it throughout the season. So that's one. And then, of course, we have the last disposal rule. Now, I think this is probably the biggest rule to come to the game, or biggest change to the ruling to come to the game, probably since the 666 or when the stand rule were introduced a couple of years ago, I'd probably say. Now, Yeah, I think we have seen the Sandful do it, and I believe the AFLW do this as well. So a free kick will now be awarded when the ball crosses the line from a disposal between the arcs, bringing the men's game in line with the AFLW's lasso rule. It will operate similar to the Sandful in a sense that if a player blocks an opponent or doesn't play the ball before it crosses the line, a normal boundary throw-in will occur instead of last disposal free kick. So basically what I'm kind of getting from this is if you kick it and it bounces out of bounds, it's automatic last disposal free kick. If a player gets tackled over the line, it's a boundary throw-in. If a player walks the ball over the line, it's immediately a last disposal free kick. So I think we'll get a pretty good handle on this with the preseason games.
Yeah.
This is a big rule change. So I understand if people are going to be upset by it or initially outraged, like the initial outrage of it. But I personally think it will be good for the game. Like, I mean, I think everyone hates the idea of when the ball, especially when like it's on the outer wing and it just sits there for half the quarter and we're all just sitting there thinking, fucking hell, we want a goal. Like, and play it, like either a ruckman will just punch it out the boundary line when the setup's not right for them.
Yeah,
and
I
then
remember that, yeah.
And they never pay insufficient intent. So a ruckman will have to stop doing that. I would believe.
Yeah.
And teams, and I think what will bring another little scenario for the AFL, for the game itself, and teams will have to work out is late in games. They can't just get the ball out of bounds or whatever. They're going to have to like play strategically around that if they walk the ball out of bounds, it's going to be a free kick against them. So I think it does add something to the game. I think it will speed up the game. And I think that no supporter wants to see the ball stuck on the wing for half a quarter.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea of the fact that they haven't implemented it inside forward 50s or defensive 50s. But it does mean as well that it doesn't exactly just rule out the idea of a goal being kicked from that sort of scenario. So I don't know how that's going to work. It's going to be interesting. What happens if it's like 52 metres out and the umpire doesn't pay it because he thought it was on the 50? That's when it's going to start to get a bit, ticky touch and stuff. But overall, I think it's going to be good for the game. But what do you think about it?
I think it's going to be very interesting to see how, like with one the other rule I was talking about before, that how tactical teams are going to be when it comes to that, like late in the game, like when you're playing, when you're trying to save a game, like how close to the boundary are you willing to get? Like it's going to be interesting. Is a spoil going to be paid as it?
I would assume not because
then that makes it a bit interesting as well. Then because if you're spoiling it out, I
would assume that's not the case. I'm assuming if it's similar to like insufficient intent, if you spoil it out of bounds, that's okay.
Yeah.
But if it's not, that does bring another attribute to it. But I mean, I think that's a good. I think the good part about it is like we saw with the 666 rule, we see many great instances of the game, like late in games now, that like the game's not over, even though there's like 30 seconds left because teams can just have something amazing happen.
Well, it probably does. If the 666 rule wasn't in this year, does the Nasai actually happen? Probably not. I wouldn't think, because I think there would be too many people in the back line for Melbourne. So it would be
even though Melbourne kind of stuffed that up. They've made they ballsed it up in the end. But yeah, I agree. And I think that sort of scenario, that sort of, the new rule of last disposal can bring in some really big moments in games. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next year or two we see a moment that happens because we have that rule. And of course the team on the other end of that who loses the game won't really like it. But for the theatre of it, it does bring more to the game than like teams just kicking the ball as wide as possible, punching it out, and then we sit on the wing for the next 3 minutes and the game sits at a standstill. It's pretty boring.
Yeah.
But it does open up the game a bit more, which I do like. So if I had to put like a marking or a final verdict on these changes, I think it is a lot at once. But I also think a lot of them are rules that just should have been done years ago.
Yeah, I think they're just adjustments to the original rule that was brought in that should have been done years ago, as you said. So I think they're all good if they're consistent on every role, which they haven't been in the past.
Yeah, as long as they're consistent, I'm fine with it. But yeah, like you said, like we've been saying along, it has to be consistent, because if they start swapping and changing and chopping up their interpretations of the rule, and like I hate when they say, "Oh, the umpire had a different interpretation." I mean, I understand people are different, everyone's unique, but fucking your job is to make the ruling, and we shouldn't have all these different interpretations based on a different umpire.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a little bit of grey area in some of these rules which I don't like, but if everything's implemented well and they're consistent on it from day dot, then I'm okay with it. But I do understand, especially the last disposal rule, why there's a little bit of initial outrage for it. And, when they initially said there's 7 rule changes, everyone, people are like, oh my God. But if you read into it, I think at least 4 of them are just, updating something that should have happened years ago.
Yeah.
So hopefully it doesn't, I don't think it's going to ruin the game.
No.
Anyway, we can maybe title it, "The AFL is gone, it's ruined, it's over." I think that'd probably be pretty good, but I don't think we'll do that, unfortunately. Sorry, guys, we're going to get 3 views on this. But anyway, let's move on from that. So that was probably the big news story over the last, 7 days or so. But there is some talk regarding the fixture. So it probably isn't too long now before we see when the AFL fixture is fully released, probably towards... Oh, fucking hell. Probably towards the end of October, I think they released the fixture. Maybe mid-November, probably now. They're probably released.
It'll be probably released in the next, I'd say, 2 weeks, I reckon.
Especially
maybe.
Gather round and that probably announced soon, opening round. So, SEN recently brought up which teams deserve to have primetime games next season. I think last year we saw, because obviously Thursday night was a big moment for the AFL. They pretty much had it every single round this year. And then it kind of came off. Like, there were a lot of primetime drubbing games that no one gave a shit about, especially towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
So a lot of teams that got them were teams like Essendon, St Kilda, Carlton. Look, I get that they've got to try and fill up more primetime games now because of the Thursday nights, but can we please not have those 3 teams in it? Now, I know St Kilda had a lot of great signings. Let's just give them a year to see if they gel, and then we'll give them some primetime games, please. Yeah,
and like, I don't want to be biased here, but like a Port who finished in the top 4 the previous year got maybe 4 primetime games last year, which was like, is that really fair when you've got a Carlton and Essendon pretty much every week?
Yeah. It's like we don't need to see Carlton and Essendon there anymore. Well, for a while.
Like, I know you want the big Melbourne teams in primetime slots, but sometimes some of the best teams all year weren't Victorian teams.
Yeah. Well, we need to see... Well, I think teams that deserve them, I think, obviously, teams in the top 4 from the end of the season, from the end of the minor rounds. You've got the Crows. I think that they deserve some more primetime games in Adelaide. I think that... we're a little bit biased because we're in South Australia, but I do think they deserve it.
Yeah.
You got Geelong. I mean, obviously, Brisbane as well, and then Collingwood. They're the 4 obvious ones. I think Hawthorn probably as well, because they are the team that, I guess, probably the biggest team, I don't know, socially in recent years. We've seen them get a big rise in younger audience, so I think that would be good. And then you probably got some teams around the mark. Fremantle, I think, would really help with like scheduling with Perth, with games in Perth. I think would be good. And then probably teams around the bottom. There's probably a couple of more exciting teams down the bottom of the ladder. Sydney, probably you'd expect them to jump up a bit. I mean, you've probably got a couple of others as well. The Dogs.
Yeah, maybe. The Dogs were a high-scoring team. Yes, they didn't play, they weren't good defensively, but you want high-scoring games, which the Dogs would give you.
You would expect the Gold Coast as well, after their first time in finals, they would get some more primetime games this year. I think they do deserve it as well.
And the Giants would be interesting how many they get. Like, you can see the team that they've got. Like, they've been good, so you'd expect them to get a few. But like, you look at the Port Adelaide, probably won't get a lot this year. West Coast definitely won't. North Melbourne should only get the Good Friday game and should only get that one. Same
Melbourne, I don't think we want to see them get any for the moment. St Kilda, I'd be a little bit cautious.
Maybe in the first, maybe because you know how they're doing a floating fixture as they do after the first 15 games or something.
Yeah.
Wait until maybe give them 1 or 2 and just see what happens.
Yeah, we'll get to a little bit in the moment about what St Kilda are proposing, but yeah, I mean, I would avoid teams like that just for the moment, and then we'll see how they go. But there are some teams that I'm like, please don't give Essendon one. We've seen how poor they were this year. Yeah. Yes, they had a lot of injuries, but Maybe give Essendon and Hawthorn a prime time slot in round 1 or round 2, but that's about it.
But yeah, you give them the prime time slot. You give them Anzac. No, sorry, not Anzac. Anzac Day, because that's a day game, but that's a marquee game. But anyway, what is it? King's Birthday Eve now. That's the only one that they should get.
Yeah.
That's a night game.
Yeah.
But besides from that, I wouldn't give them any more.
Yeah, until they at least improve. But anyway, that's probably the best. That's probably those sort of teams. But St Kilda are wanting to help launch a new season blockbuster Sunday night clash on in opening round next year against Collingwood. So the reason why they want this as well for Victoria is it would be a mega day for sport in Melbourne, with St Kilda hosting the Magpies Sunday night, March 8th. MCG only hours after the Formula 1 winds up at Albert Park. So obviously, with opening round, it's been big for the northern states, New South Wales and Queensland. So basically what I think they're kind of getting at here is have the 4 games of opening round be the Sydney teams and the Queensland teams, and then wrapping up opening round would be the St Kilda Collingwood game at the MCG. Now, from my understanding, I thought that the St Kilda and Collingwood was going to be the Danny Frawley game. I thought that's what it was going to be. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case now. But that'd be interesting if they're going to have that as a game in opening round. But that also would, in my eyes, make it that the AFL aren't going to have a mental health round. And I thought that was something they would implement this in next season, which I think they probably should nowadays. I think it would be good, or at least I think it needs a little bit more than just the Danny Frawley game. I think that should be the marquee game of the round. But it does look like that maybe they're not going to do that this year, next season. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I think that wouldn't be the worst way for opening round. I still think it should be a split round. I think that's how, if they're going to make an opening round like this, which I don't really like, I would rather them just go, this be round 1, and then have those games be in New South Wales and in Queensland.
Like, you have them in prime time slots. Like, you have the Queensland teams play Thursday, Friday. The Sydney teams play Saturday night.
Let's be honest, Sunday Twilight is a marquee game now.
Yeah, and have them as the solo games on those days.
Yeah, they're not next to another game.
Yeah, they're not overlapped, and then muddle up the fixture however you bloody want on the other time slots. I think that's a better way of doing it than literally having an unfair advantage for teams who play in an opening round and play a team that doesn't play opening round.
Yeah, they've got these random buys and all this sort of thing. Like, some teams are not getting a buy until round 15, while another team's having 2 buys before round 13. It makes no sense.
And then you play, and then the whole reason that stupidly last year was that Cyclone Alfred, was it?
I think it was Alfred.
So, hit Queensland, and bloody Essendon and Gold Coast didn't play till
the end of round 24.
The end of round 24 on a random Wednesday.
Yeah, and what a shit show.
And it was done within the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason why anyone watched the first 15 minutes of that game is because the Gold Coast had a slim chance of not making finals, but they did anyway. So the game was like, 15 minutes in, the Gold Coast are up by 40 points. Okay, we kind of know how this is going to work out now. With Jack Steele leaving, it does leave a big hole in their leadership. A lot of people are wondering who's going to be St Kilda's next captain next year, and the number one candidate for a lot of people is Cal Wilkie. However, some people have brought up the idea that may not be the best idea for St Kilda, considering he did kind of explore his options at the end of the season. Who do you think St Kilda's captain should be next year?
Cal Wilkie.
You think it should be? I don't think he did the Zach Merritt.
No, he didn't do an exact Merritt, and he didn't do it to the extent of Zach Merritt. To the fact is that he saw that everyone was getting money. He's like, I'm the most valuable player on this team, and everybody in the world knows it. Don't I deserve something here?
Yeah. He took a phone call from Luke Beveridge. It's not like he went and he didn't do the full on I'm going to make a trade request if you don't pay me.
Yeah.
They were like, he just took a phone call.
Yeah,
I personally think he should be their next captain. I think that honestly he should have been their captain years ago.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't really know who else could have been the option, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many other options at St Kilda at the moment that I can really think of.
No, because you look at their list, it's like Nasiah Wanganimura is a good player, but he doesn't scream
a great player, but he doesn't really scream leader.
He doesn't scream leader at his age at 21, 22.
Yeah, he wouldn't be very old.
He wouldn't be more than 23, so I wouldn't think him. Royal Marshall, I wouldn't have given it to him after he basically did ask for a request and literally say he wanted to go out.
Yeah.
And you're not going to give it to a new player who's just arrived. You're not going to give it to any of those.
There's not a lot of players there like that I would really consider it. I mean, Jack McRae may.
I was thinking that, but maybe even a Mason would. But
I feel like Cal Wilkie is leaps and bounds above them.
That's
guys
the thing.
That's the thing.
It's like it's Cal Wilkie, and then the next level.
You're literally scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and find someone else. It's not him.
Yeah, exactly. Like even like Jack Higgins. I
don't know. Maybe a Marcus Winhager had some.
Yeah, but even him, like he wasn't getting a regular spot in that team till late in the year.
Yeah,
and but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're kind of grasping at straws around Cal Wilkie, who's the guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of agree. There was being some talk about throughout the week that Cal Wilkie, is there a reason why? Is that a reason as to why he shouldn't be picked? But I mean, I think he's the number one standout. Yeah. Surely he's the next captain, you would say. I mean, again, I think he should have probably been there last year. Anyway, now finally, before we move into a bit of world sport, we have some news regarding the MCG as a proposed revamp of the MCG and Yarra Park, which would be upwards of $2 billion. Whew, that's a lot of money. So, the Herald Sun's Jay Clark revealed grand plans for a redevelopment of the southern side of the stadium, which would see the Shane Warne stand modernised alongside several other key amenities with the Sporting Coliseum. Could you not wank it up? Fucking hell. The AFL is hopeful of keeping the grand final at major events of the MCG if a 70,000 capacity is maintained while construction continues, as per the AFL contract. The proposed $15 million business case is jointly funded by the MCC alongside the Victorian government. The Victorian government, though, could be required to fork out $1 billion if one of these states' biggest construction spends on record, whatever. $2 billion for the rebuild of the MCG's Shane Warne stand is taking a major step forward with the commissioning of a business case. So there's some things that they want to do with the MCG build as well. It's not just a build of one little of just the stadium. They want to upgrade to go to, I think it's 105,000 seats as capacity, which doesn't sound like a lot. Like I think they can fit in 100,000 now. So I think they also wanted to replace every seat and give new seats to every part of the ground. Yeah. So that's another part of it. They also may want to build a hotel similar to like how the Adelaide Oval has a hotel attached to the ground now. $2 billion sounds like a lot though for a revamp.
I'll be just asking one question. They're getting a roof.
Yeah,
because they get rain every now and then during the AFL
I think it's
season.
very interesting that originally with the new Hobart Macquarie Point Stadium, that was only going to be estimated to be $750 million with a roof, and obviously that's been hugely outblown now. The money requirements for that, but that's a huge $2 billion they are saying. Compared to who the hell did the numbers for Hobart Stadium? That's less than half.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I don't really. I mean, when was the last time we went to the MCG? 3 years ago. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really big on like big things like that. When you look at things like, I'm sure everyone's seen it already, the new stadium that's been proposed in Saudi Arabia for the 2034... Is it Saudi Arabia for the 2034 World Cup? That big stadium on top of a building? No way would I go there. Fuck that. No, I couldn't do that. But anyway, that was insane. I couldn't do that. But I mean... I don't know too much about it. $2 billion sounds like a lot of money for 5,000. I mean, obviously, I'm reading it as like, 5,000 more seats. Who gives a fuck? But there's obviously a lot more that would be incorporated into it. And I think it's very interesting that like they still want to have games there when it's 70,000. I can't remember when they did the last redevelopment or last changes to the MCG. This would have been back in the mid 2000s. Yeah, I remember when they had it was
around when Port
won the premiership
in the first grand final after it was 2005 when
I remember the game. There's a couple of like highlights you see with like Essendon, and I think Adam Sampy took a big mark in front of like. It was like a huge development still the MCG. I don't know if we really want that for a grand final. I mean, surely if that's going to be the case, we could move the grand final for a year or two.
What they did during COVID is they just added 3 extra years to the contract of the MCG. You might as well just
do that. Yeah, surely they could
for
do
2
that.
ye's.
Yeah, have it at Adelaide. Look, fine. We'll have the grand
Just give it
final
to
Adelaide Oval.
to the I wouldn't say the grand to whoever the higher team on the ladder is host it. If it's Sydney, well, if it's the Giants, well, you give it to the FCG.
I mean, look, you can play it at Energy Stadium in front of 25,000 or something at Energy. Anyway, the shithole it is, but anyway. There's also talk, obviously, of the Gabba getting a redevelopment as well. So that's obviously to do with the 2032 Olympics that they're going to have a redevelopment. The current stadium will be demolished with a new 17,000 seat indoor arena built across the road and a new 63,000 seat stadium at Victoria Park, which will be the new home of the Brisbane Lions and the cricket. So the Gabba would be built a lot bigger. And yeah, I mean, I think the Gabba's needed a redevelopment for many years. From my understanding, a lot of people are saying that the Gabba is outdated.
Yeah.
So I think that's obviously going to happen with the Olympics, with the funding. Obviously, the Olympics will give to the Queensland government. So that's pretty inevitable at this point. I think it's still in the. I wouldn't say it's probably past the talking phase of the MCG, but yeah, I mean it's a little bit past there's potential of the MCG, but the Gabba is pretty much ready. Like it's going to start happening pretty. It would have to start happening pretty soon. But yeah, 63,000. I think the Gabba. I'm unsure as to how much it can hold currently. Is it over 40?
I think it's just over 40. Yeah. It would have to be. It would have to be just over 40.
Yeah, so 63 is actually a pretty big build. But anyway, that's pretty much all the footy talk that we have for this week's episode. But for the first time in many, many months, I would say, we're going to move into a bit of world sport. So usually throughout this segment, we talk a bit about the Premier League, the soccer. So sports that we kind of watch that's outside of the AFL space. So a bit of Premier League soccer, a bit of other world soccer as well, or football. We're calling it soccer here, alright? Deal with it. If you're fucking watching and you're like, oh, it's football, bro, we call AFL football here. Deal with it. Anyway, we've got a bit of NFL. You follow that a little bit more than me in recent years, and we'll start with a bit with the cricket. And we did win the ODI series 2-1. We won it 2-0. Let's be real. We didn't really give a fuck about the last
we
one.
were pretty much resting everybody for the Sheffield Shield games and
Ready for the Test series,
and ready for the Ashes in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Speaking of the Ashes, it looks like Sam Constas. He probably won't be in the team.
No, he's only just turned 20. I think he was put in the squad just to give it a go. He didn't grasp it, and now he's still playing not the mature way he was doing when he first burst onto the scene in a way.
Was it mature for him to sit there and start ramping the ball in the first test?
Yeah, but I think that just the way
it's kind of worn off the kind of the novelty. Like, oh my god, he's doing all these weird things.
It's like, and now he doesn't have the maturity to realize the moments in a test match that you can't play a ramp in the first three overs of a match.
You can't do that against England in the Ashes.
No, like they will. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
So who are they saying are going to be the openers? I think they've been saying, some people will be saying Labuschagne.
Well, Labuschagne's number, they're thinking Renshaw's coming up with coming in the hot seat. Weatherald was until he got a duck this morning. Yeah. Last night I think it was the Monday.
So what a couple Tuesday. Of like a lot of the time though we've been like trying to. I mean, for a long time we've had David Warner be the mainstay, and then we've been rotating someone either from the Shield level or someone in the team like an Usman Khawaja to shuck up the top.
And now we're just doing the same thing with Usman Khawaja. Yeah. So it's going to be. To be honest, I really think they will go Labuschagne, and they'll go Khawaja, Labuschagne. Green, then Smith, but the lineup all depends on if Green can be an actual all-rounder.
Well, it's very interesting as well because Pat Cummins has been ruled out of the first test as well. Yeah. So they are saying that Steve Smith will likely take over as the interim captain once again, and I think he brought up the fact that he hasn't lost a game when he's been interim captain. So that means that most likely the bowling attack will be Mitch Starc, Josh Hazlewood, and Scott Boland, I would assume. Yeah. And then then the spinner, Nate Lyon. Yeah. So the bowling lineup's been the same for years, really, let's be real. Yeah. So I think that's how we're probably going to line up. All right, quick prediction. We've been seeing all the talk about the Ashes. Some people have been saying that England can go all the way, win the whole thing, 5-0 and all that sort of stuff. What are you thinking the Ashes? Quick little prediction on the 29th of October.
I think we'll retain it, but I think it will be 2-2-all. I think one will be rained out as a draw, which is always Sydney.
Yeah. I'll go with 3-1 Australia. Yeah, I'll give England 1. Similar to last year, how against India we lost 1, but
Lost the first one.
and then we responded. I think I'll go 3-1. 3-1 Australia, and then 1 will be washed out, or 1 will be like a draw. Yeah, I'm pretty confident on that. All right, let's move on. Talk a bit about some Premier League, and I don't really want to talk about it because even though it's always fun to look at Liverpool dropping down, Chelsea aren't doing much better. So if you don't know, my team is Chelsea in the Premier League. Yours is Liverpool. Yeah. Obviously, you always wanted to talk about it every single week last year. We were talking about the footy, and you're like, "Can we talk about Liverpool?" And I was like, "No, we already know they're going to win." But now, after $400 million worth of signings.
Something like that.
And, you know, they're kind of grasping for a mid-table finish. They're looking for maybe Conference League Liverpool at this moment.
We were starring in the first 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And then, pretty much since we signed Alexander Isak, we've kind of
scored 1 goal.
I think he scored. Yeah, he scored once. Yes. But
I mean, that's.
I think at the moment, TK was doing really well for us, and now we're playing in the role of one has to play, one doesn't, or come and swap. And Mo Salah's out of form,
and not impressed either. It looks like.
And not impressed either. I'm surprised he did. I think he's gone at the end of the season. I'd be shocked if he keeps playing.
Well, I mean, there's been talk it's a bit obviously reactionary, but there's been talk about Arnie Slot's job being a little bit in jeopardy. I mean, that's a bit ridiculous.
The joys of being an English Premier League manager.
Yes. I mean, look, Liverpool's form hasn't been great, especially in the Premier League. Now, yes, they did beat Frankfurt, 5-1 in the Champions League a week or so ago. But their form hasn't been ideal. Like, they've lost their last 4 games.
Yeah.
And not in great fashion either, mind you. And loss against Brentford isn't really good on the little... I mean, not that Brentford are doing exactly that bad, but not great.
No.
But, of course, in form ladder, it looks like maybe Arsenal, it could be their year. Is it 2025, 2026 they finally run all the way, or do you think they choke it again?
Oh,
I mean, they're pretty... I mean, Liverpool were the serial chokers for many years before 2019, 2020. So, I mean, is this the final... I mean, someone has to turn it around.
Yeah, I think that they're looking the goods at the moment, Arsenal, which just... You just got the fear of Man City turning it around as they seem to find a way. Liverpool are coming... They will... At some point, they will turn their form around.
Yeah. It's just a matter of when.
But, yeah, it's a matter of when. I think... But Arsenal just keep plodding along at the moment.
The problem is with Manchester City, obviously they do have like the fear. There's a fear factor around them, like, they can just turn it on. But I don't know if you watch much YouTube. There's a YouTuber from Australia who talks a lot about soccer like throughout the week. It's called DMAC. Have you ever seen him?
No.
He brings up a lot of new stuff every week. It's actually quite interesting. But he's brought up the fact that out of the 17 goals got by City this year in the Premier, I think it's in the Premier League, 17 goals, 11 of them come from Haaland, and the second highest goal scorer is an opposition player who scored 2 own goals against them. So Mamouche, who's like their reserve striker, hasn't kicked a goal this year. So and Phil Foden, someone else, I can't remember what his name is, but there's a lot of players who haven't scored for City this year. So and the reason why they lost against Aston Villa on the weekend is because Villa put all their defensive plays towards Haaland, stop them scoring.
Yeah.
So City's one would is obviously get it to Erling Haaland. Obviously, that's a pretty good play in A. I'll give you that. I mean, get it to him, he'll score, he'll get your goals. But against some of the better teams in the Premier League, it's going to be hard for them to win games if Haaland is down. And you can't expect him to I mean, you can expect him to get a goal a game nearly at this point, but there are going to be games where he can't score. And if you can't find someone else to get you a goal, it's going to be tough. So... Yeah. There is a fear, obviously, that City and Pep Guardiola just turn it on for 20 weeks, and in the Premier League season,
and they win 17. Yeah, win 17, draw 3, and they win the title. So
yeah,
but yeah,
the fear is starting to wane though, and I think that Liverpool. It seems like I would personally think it's like a transition sort of season, really. Like they've signed up so many different players. And I guess you could, I mean, if you're looking at it like in a football terms, maybe of like AFL terms to, maybe this is like how like Mark Thompson to Chris Scott from 2010 to 2011, their premiership. You know, they were so well drilled by Jurgen Klopp that they were able to turn it around the next year with Arnie Slot in his first season And I don't really want to take it away from him because he was obviously a great manager for the first season at Liverpool, but now this is more his team than what Jurgen Klopp's was the year prior. So now he's going to have to like redevelop this team because they've got so many new players there. Kirkes, Florian Wirtz, Ekatike, Alexander Isak, and Isak as well didn't have much of a pre-season because he was too busy worrying about, oh fuck, I'm going to have to play for Newcastle for another season. So they've got a lot of change, and Alisson's been injured for a bit of this season as well. But they are too good a team to be losing 4 Premier League games in a row.
Yeah, they should be at least competing, and that's the thing that at times Liverpool haven't competed in phases of the game.
Yeah. Now, before we move on, obviously, the Premier League Big Six is just no longer a thing anymore, apparently. So Arsenal are on top. You know, Manchester United are 6th, which I don't really like. I don't want to see that. No one wants to see that, except even United fans are like, this is weird, bro. Can you please put us back down the bottom where we belong? And City are 5th currently. But Bournemouth are 2nd. You're sitting Tottenham back up there. I mean, obviously, they are one of the Big Six. But
they will go down. They will go down at some point.
Yeah. And Sunderland are 4th. So it's been a very interesting start to the Premier League campaign. I'll say that. I mean, we're 9 games in, basically, and we've got Bournemouth up in 2nd. That's great to see. I love to see that. You know, a different team up there. You'd think they'd probably start to drop a little bit as the season goes on, but they've got quite a few good players, and obviously Semenyo's been great throughout the whole season so far, and young guy and Krupi's just been getting goals for fun in recent weeks.
The thing is that what normally happens when they start a season like this so well, the summer transfer window comes and they all get poached from every other team around the land. But well, the thing also for Bournemouth is the fact is that they're not playing in Europe, so that will help them.
Yeah, well, them and Sunderland are sitting in a pretty good spot right now in that sort of aspect. Aston Villa have definitely hit form recently. They had a very poor start to the campaign, but they've won 4 of their past 5 and no losses in their last 5 games.
The interesting thing about it is also that Ollie Watkins hasn't starred in a lot of the games.
He's done well at all. So,
he's been very out of form. So it's a good thing that they're not relying, like you've said about City relying on Haaland. They're not relying on Watkins to get the goals.
Yeah. So they're sitting 8th currently. They're only 7 points off the top. They're only 3 points away from 2nd place. So they're sitting in a pretty good spot as well. Crystal Palace had a blistering start to the campaign. Haven't really done that good over the last 5 or so weeks. So they've kind of dropped off the pace a little bit. They've only won 2 of their past 5 and they haven't won a game in their last 3 in the Premier League. So, but it is, they're playing European football as well. So, and they're in the Conference League, I believe. Yeah. So, Nottingham are in the Europa League, which is not a great start for Nottingham, obviously, with Ange.
With 3 coaches, 3 managers in the space of 15 games.
Yeah, not great. And Ange, they can't really put the blame on him when they got flogged in the last game as well, Nottingham, but still not ideal. They're currently sitting in the relegation zone with West Ham and Wolverhampton, who have had a shocking start to the season. Holy shit. They've got 2 draws, and Burnley and Leeds are sitting outside the bottom at the moment. So we could finally, it's been a couple of seasons, but we could finally actually see one team survive. Which
at the moment,
Sunderland are doing brilliantly.
Yeah.
So I have to wait and see how that plans out. I like to do this every single time we talk about it. Very early prediction. Are we sitting on Arsenal as the favourite to this moment, or are we, it's a little bit too early to tell?
No, let's go the out one. I think Sunderland just do the Leicester, the better Leicester.
I want to see Bournemouth do it, but I mean,
I just like to see no.
I think Arsenal have a pretty good spot.
I think at the moment you have to go with Arsenal. I think at the moment you do.
They're doing really well defensively, and they can if they can get Victor Gyökeres up and about, they win the title.
Yeah.
They win the title, but he hasn't really hit his straps yet. He's got a couple of goals, which has been good, and also Eze as well hasn't really had a great start in his Arsenal tenure, but he scored his first goal against Crystal Palace last game. If he can start to fire, they got Saka, they got a lot of great attacking players, and if their defense holds up, they'll win the title. Yeah, and they don't choke it, but they should. If they can just play, they're playing so well defensively. If they can hold up there, they can get a goal or 2 a game. They find it very difficult. I think throughout the whole of last month, they only conceded 1 shot on target in the Premier League, so they're doing really well defensively. But let's finally move to a bit of NFL chat. So, on the NFL, I haven't followed it as much as I have in previous years. My team's just doing fucking horrendously, apparently. The Falcons are currently 3-4, so losing to the Dolphins.
So, you've went from a shutout against Carolina to somehow beating Washington and the Bills, and then getting completely screwed against the injury ravaged 49ers and the Dolphins in the last 5 or 6 weeks. Like, that's a pretty good record. I'll give you that.
Yeah, we're just planning it out. We're just planning it out at this point. The Buccaneers sitting in. So currently the lead at the moment in the NFC, you've got the Packers up the top, 5-1-1. Eagles are in second, 6-2, along with the Buccaneers. Seahawks sitting in fourth spot in the NFC with 5-2. Then you got the wildcard spots held by the Lions, the Rams, and the 49ers. And you got the Bears, Panthers, Cowboys, Falcons, Vikings, Commanders sitting around the mark with only 2 wins away. Probably the Bears and the Panthers sitting in a good spot right now. And then Giants, Cardinals, and the Saints sitting down the bottom. On the AFC, you've got the Colts up the top in 7-1. Patriots 6-2 along with the Broncos. 4-3 for the Steelers sitting in the division leader spots. In the wild card, you've got the Bills at 5-2, Chargers 5-3, the Chiefs at 5-3 as well. So not enough Taylor Swift for mine. I'm feeling like we need a lot more Taylor Swift in the.
I will give you this. He did play probably his best game he's played in the past 2 years. Travis Kelce on the weekend.
Yeah,
a
lot more Taylor Swift to come.
I didn't watch the game, so I don't know how many times she was on the footage, but I do know watching the highlights, Travis Kelce was in the game a lot.
Oh, that's fucking dreadful for the game. Jaguars sitting just outside of 4-3. Then you got the Texans and the Bengals 3 wins, and then the Raiders, Ravens, Browns, Dolphins sitting at 2 wins, and then the Jets and the Titans. I think, did anyone see that viral clip go around of the person asking a Jets fan, how are you feeling or something, and he just said, I hate this team.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of North Melbourne fans and Carlton fans. But anyway.
Yeah.
So moving on to a bit of NFL, what are the teams jumping out to you so far?
I think the Chiefs started horribly, but they didn't have many of the receivers. But the last 3 or 4 weeks, they seem to be back in form. Like, you can't really count out the Chiefs when they've got Patty Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Rashid Rice has come back from his arrest suspension that he had.
Oh.
He was out for the first 6 weeks, so he's come back.
I think
he was arrested. He was arrested for a car accident, and the NFL suspended him for the first 6 weeks of the season.
Oh.
The Colts are just. Everyone's saying they had the easiest schedule this season, and yet they're 7-1. And Daniel Jones looks like the MVP. Daniel Jones looks best player, and Jonathan Taylor's the MVP. Like, they're just dominating. That's on the AFC side. The Bills, seriously, if they don't win it this season, I don't think they can win it. Like, Josh Allen's just coming off of the MVP season, and he's got everything there. Like, he's got the pieces around. They're not maybe the best names, but he's got capable receivers. He's got capable players. James Cook is cooking, and he's got nobody. I don't know how that doesn't happen.
Well, aren't they stuck in the same division as the Chiefs though? Isn't that their problem?
They're in the same conference as the Chiefs, but.
Is that right? Or are they?
Yeah.
So that's just always why they struggle to get that top spot, because the Chiefs always hold that spot from them.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's right. They're playing the same as the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's just the fact is that they don't hold the they're not the divisional leaders because the Patriots are 6-2.
Yeah,
and yeah, very interesting.
It's so great to see the Patriots back up and about.
Yeah,
love to see it. Obviously,
yeah,
they've been so struggling with success over the years.
Exactly.
So bad. It's so good to see a struggling.
It's only like 3 years since 5 years since Brady left.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a struggling team.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Organisation.
And then you look at the other side of the table on the NFC side, like the Packers look like when getting Micah Parsons early in the season. I think that it comes down to how they play on the offensive side. They're getting a few reinforcements back on Christian Watson and some other players as well. The Eagles, it's hard to judge them because everyone thinks that they're just going to be so well, but let's be honest, if they didn't have the tush push, they wouldn't be so good.
Hang on a minute. The tush push?
Yeah.
You're going to have to explain that. The tush push.
When it's like it's third and first, and they literally have to push it over.
They call it the tush push.
That's what I said. Didn't you know that?
No, they call it the tush push.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, that's funny. Anyway.
Yeah, well,
for anyone who's not watching NFL, they're like, what the fuck is a tush push? It sounds like something that you hear on like a gay bar or something on a Saturday night.
And what? Yeah, you got the the 49ers, who are injury ravaged, somehow still have a wild card spot. If it wasn't for the Falcons literally shitting the bed 2 weeks ago against them, they should have been,
Falcons been very good at that. And then they get rid of Waku, who's been saving them shit in the bed fucking for years.
Yeah, but the Falcons, they're
pretty good at shit.
They don't really like. They've got a few injuries to their offensive line. Well, their offensive receivers, and Panic's missed the game on the weekend through injury. But and same with the bloody Vikings. They don't. It seems so stupid now to see that they got rid of Sam Darnold and they sent him to the Seattle, who's in 4th spot in the NFC.
Yeah.
At the moment, you look at at the moment, if I'm looking at it. NFC,
it's hard to go past Philly though. Philly are like always.
NFC, I'd say Philly are first. I'd say them on the AFC side. It's so weird. Like I'd still say the Bills, and they're in 5th. They're in 5th at the moment, and yet
they're not even in the top spot.
Yeah,
in their division.
I wouldn't say the Colts. They've played a few good teams, but they haven't played any of the big sides yet. The Patriots, I haven't really seen the Patriots yet because they haven't really played prime time lately. Broncos, they're in the same division as the Chargers and the Chiefs, so that's a hard one to say because they're all around the same. And the Steelers, I think Rodgers, it relies on Rodgers playing well to hit the targets. And DK Metcalf to get back into it.
All right, but if you had to make a quick prediction now, you said like Bills on the AFC, NFC you're saying the Eagles. What are you looking as like the early contenders? Would you pick one right now, or do you think it's a bit tough to say?
I think at the moment you got to say that those are your 2 favourites. If you're gonna like the one team that I still think can still do something is the Chiefs. I still can't go past the Chiefs after the last 4 years of making it. I think it's very hard to say, oh, well, they're not there. They're going to miss it this year. It's so hard to say that. Like, you can pretty much guarantee that most of the NFC, you can probably still say Packers, Eagles. The Bucks are going to be interesting because they've been hit by injuries, but they still see a way of winning games at the moment. The Seahawks, I think they need to decide on who their running back is, and because they're splitting it between Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. I think they've got to pick one and go with it. Detroit's very much are going to be there at the moment. They can score however they want, but defensively was their problem last year. They don't really want
for a very long time. It seems.
But even the Rams, I think Stafford's nearly done. You might get one more year out of him. But besides those 6, I think the 49ers are too hit with injury, and
the Falcons will make a big run and give them a go.
Yeah. the Vikings they don't have the quarterback, and everyone else is just so far off it that like the Commanders don't have the offensive line to help Daniels get there at the moment. The Bears, well, you can't trust the Bears. Not many other teams in that NFC can do it, but I think there's more NFC teams that can win it than AFC at the moment.
It's been for so many years that the AFC is ruled by the Chiefs. Yeah. Really, I mean, they've been the only ones who've been the real team. Like because always the Chiefs come up against the Bills in like the second playoff, and then the Bills just get knocked off by them, and then the Chiefs just run the AFC.
Yeah.
So that's always been the issue from the Bills, is the fact they come up against the Chiefs and they get into a shootout and the Chiefs just win out, or I don't know, scoring fest, I guess what you would call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at this moment in time, that's probably all we've got for World Sport, and probably all we've got for the podcast this week, guys. So thank you for listening and watching. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe over on YouTube. Nearly at 300 subs on the second channel right now. So hopefully by next year we can get that monetized as well, and then we'll just be raking in all that money from you guys. But also as well, if you are listening over on Spotify, make sure to leave us 5 stars and make sure to follow us. You're notified on the podcast and the review that comes back next year, of course, every single week. But again, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you all next week.
See you later, guys.